Different. Well, the competition is certain to be still stronger for the world champions McLaren. There's a new point system. Points can be scored in every round, which rewards the more consistent runners. And a new disciplinary code will take tough action against bad driving. But Ayrton Senna, he remains as the driver to catch. And Nigel Mansell is perhaps the man to do it. Back with the Williams team that took him so close to the world title in 1986.
Williams took Mansell to within just a tyre burst of the title at Adelaide 5 years ago. And they were perhaps the only team able to coax him out of the retirement he'd so publicly announced at Silverstone last summer. At Silverstone a few days ago, it was the cold, damp reality of a new season's preparations and getting to grips with a promising new car already nicknamed the Porpoise. But Mansell returning to a team he's at ease with.
It's a very, very good feeling because, as I say, everybody's pulling the same way. We've had a few little hiccups with the car already this morning, but there's no problem because everyone just delves in and sorts them out. And perhaps with other teams, one looks at why or who caused the problem, and it's not like that here. We're all on the same side, we're all pulling together, and we have great enthusiasm.
The name of this business isn't winning races, but winning world championships. Nigel almost won the World Championship in 1986 and 1987. That means he is familiar with a rather difficult path. He has trodden it 2 years in a row, and we thought his experience and his strength of character would be vital to us in our desire and our need to win a World Championship again.
Williams in the past, I think, still hold the record for the longest finishes in the points with Carlos Reutemann. I think they finished, I think it's 14 or 15 races on the trot scoring points. So it's possible to do it, and with the team that actually holds that record, we've just got to hope that the gearbox, the engine and the car will be reliable enough to do that. But it's going to change the championship a little bit because we're for sure got to nurse the cars home, even if it's only for 1 point.
And there's a stronger line on discipline as well, with the opportunity for immediate action to be taken against misbehaviour on the track. Who is that aimed at? What kind of behaviour is that aimed at?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not there sitting in judgment, but what I would say is that, you know, I think it should be welcomed a little bit, as long as it's executed in the correct way. You know, as long as the, shall we say, the perpetrator of whatever the accident, they actually get to the right person. And I think that if that is the case, then there's no problem. I mean, I think our game is a very dangerous occupation, and you know, there was quite a few incidents last year where a few people should have had their knuckles wrapped a little bit and nothing was done. And then the year before, I mean, just to mention Ayrton and my good self, I mean, things were done which was ludicrous. So hopefully the system that they've employed for this year will bring the sport, you know, into a much better position.
Mansell has swapped the fierce demands of the Ferrari fans for the traditional expectations of the British press. The last 2 years, though, have changed him, and he's returned to Williams with realistic priorities.
This is a very important and very significant year for me, but we've come back to enjoy. You see, Patrick Head, Frank Williams and myself all agreed unanimously that almost at the top of the list, no matter what happens, if the engine goes or the gearbox goes or something happens with the car or I make a mistake, we come back fighting the next day and we all enjoy. And enjoy motor racing, because there's an awful lot of teams in the pit lane haven't been enjoying motor racing for a long time. And the great thing is here, we're all of the same opinion, that we're going to compete, we're going to try and compete to win, we're going to try and compete for the World Championship and the Drivers' Championship, Constructors' Championship, but let's have a good season and enjoy it with the mechanics, the engineers and everything, all be together.
You'd enjoy the world title as well, though, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, that's what we're here for.
And this is the man they've got to beat, the most highly motivated driver in the championship, the fastest man in the sport, backed by the most sophisticated team in Formula One. Ayrton Senna was testing at Estoril last week, a new car and a new engine, Honda swapping the all-conquering V10 for the new V12. Now, Senna is not a man to give glib platitudes about a new season. His direct assessment of the winter's development made uncomfortable listening for a super-efficient team like McLaren, and was especially embarrassing for Honda.
We developed the V12 engine last year for quite a few months. The last time I drove it was here at Estoril back in October, and the engine had a good performance already then. And thinking that between October and today there were quite a few months, There was a program established by the Honda engineers, some targets to be achieved in terms of reliability, output power, drivability. And now that I come back after all those months to drive the car, we clearly are not there. I discussed with the Honda engineers, they acknowledge it, they know it. It's not a secret, they know it. They have the figures from their test bench data. But we all know, and we are all trying to do our best. And the only difference is that instead of keeping it secret or not telling the truth, I just say the truth openly. And of course that creates a little bit of friction within the system, but there are no problems at all between Honda, myself, or McLaren.
The horsepower will come, but what of the world champion's single-minded motivation? Senna reflected last week on an illustration of how that motivation works. In practice at Jerez last year, Martin Donnelly had his horrendous accident, and Senna was confronted with the big price that this sport sometimes demands.
And that day, particularly, I was in the pits. The practice was stopped. I hear by different people there was an accident, was Donnelly, was bad, was too bad, was disaster, and I decided to go to the place to see myself.
What Senna saw was a crumpled figure with massive injuries from which Donnelly was to miraculously recover. The shocked Brazilian left the scene and contemplated retirement, not from practice or the race, but possibly from the sport.
Million things went through my mind, and in the end I realized I was not going to give up my passion, even just having seen what I had seen. And I had to put myself together and walk out, go to the racing car and do it again. And do it again and do it even better than before. Because that was the way to kind of cover that impact that had on me. I was just not ready to give up. As much as I was scared to continue, I was not ready to give up my aim, my target, my objective, my passion, my dream, my life. This is my life. And so I had to go on.
This was Senna's stunning qualifying lap hours after the Donnelly accident, which gave him his 50th pole position. A man of such motivation needs to be able to relax. And Senna can relax, although thoughts of motor racing never seem to be too far away. Relaxation is back home at his beach house in Brazil.
And I have the opportunity there to do water sports, water ski, jet ski, diving, swimming. I can do a little bit of tennis there in my house. I can do my training program, which is jogging and some exercise, all in hot conditions, which is important. At the same time, I am eating very well. I have a stable life day by day. I'm not traveling, moving around, getting lots of people around me. I am private. I have my family, my girlfriend, kids around me from my family, and it's the perfect environment for you to just get back into a normal lifestyle and to be near to the nature and near to your basis. It's fundamental for you to come back to your own way, your own line, your referencing points, to get back, to get ready then after to the competition, to the fight.
That fight can sometimes boil over, notably once again with Alain Prost at the Japanese Grand Prix. Senna accepts that this new disciplinary code might just be aimed at him.
If you are ahead most of the time, if you are on pole positions more than anybody by far, if you lead races and laps from races more than anybody by far, you are always focused. You are always the focus of attention of the TV cameras and by consequence the world, the stewards, the teams, the spectators, and so on. And any single mistake you make, or anything wrong that goes with your car, or anything wrong that goes where you are, is well noted. I race for a team that is very successful. I race with people that give their maximum to win. They have demonstrated over the years before I was part of the team. But we have to do what we believe is right, not what other people would like you to do, what other people would expect you to do, because they are competition. They are not on your side. Therefore, you have to aim for what your mind tells you, what your heart tells you, and whether you get it right most of the time, but sometimes wrong, you have to be prepared to pay the price. And people must be prepared to see it and accept it, because motor racing is dangerous by definition. Motor racing is exciting. Motor racing is a sport that brings people to the limit, man and machine, and it must be seen as that. And people that are on the limit and equipment that work on the limit are bound to go wrong from time to time, and that must be taken into consideration to be part of the game.
And the high-speed game starts again this weekend with the Phoenix Grand Prix in Arizona, opening round of the championship. Highlights in